Hey, good morning, Raiders, wherever you are in the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This digital world we live in, you could be watching this at any time. If you are watching this, it is probably because I'm not in class. I'm creating an audio guide for you about this class is going to be the Presidency of George Washington, or you may be watching this because you weren't in class and you can catch up with what we talked about today. So you could be watching this at any time. However, specifically, if you're watching this in August of 2023, it is because I am on my National Guard annual training, summer training. I am in the Republic of Georgia. Yes, ironic, state of Georgia, country of Georgia. And bottom line is I miss you. I miss you already. This is the first day of distance learning for us. And I wish I could be there. So something that I'll miss about these next couple of weeks is the ability to have a conversation with you, to go back and forth, ask questions. And that's something that we find joy in our class, and that is the learning. When you raise your hand and ask a question and I'm able to clarify, that is an important process of the learning. That's what we'll be missing these next couple of weeks, but that doesn't mean we can't still learn. These audio guides will be shorter than class because you won't be raising your hands and interrupting me in a good way, But these audio guides hopefully be about 30 minutes each, and then you can get to the rest of whatever is in your work packet. So sometimes there's reading before the class. You maybe already did that, or if you didn't, you can read those articles. Or there's questions and articles for after the class, and of course you'll be taking notes during the class. So with that as the setup, let's go ahead and jump into the Presidency of George Washington. These are your guided notes, which you have in the packet. And then of note, also after the guided notes, you see a page like this. And you may feel, I'm just going to take a guess because of what students have said before, you may feel that some of those questions on this page are a little bit redundant. Didn't I already answer those in the notes? Yes, maybe you did. But this type of page, I'll show you one more time. This type of page, see the picture of George Washington? You're going to see this type of page for every president we talk about in class. And it's going to be a great way, once you've taken all your notes, you're basically going to have a really nice review of the work you've already done, but you'll be able to flip through your old notes and see the key points of every president we talk about in class. So obviously, George Washington, the first one, an important place to start. And that's why you have that type of note. As you continue to flip through your packet, you'll see, I'll just go one more page for us. You'll see that not every president gets a full page like George. Some presidents only get a paragraph sized little block there. And like I said, you'll see that for every president we talk about in class. So let me go ahead and set the stage before we jump into George Washington. Obviously, we have come through the American Revolution. We are now a free and independent United States of America. All things considered, in the spectrum of world history, this is a very bold invention. I think you could use the word invention, a democracy, or really a lot of people call it the American experiment, choosing our own leaders, letting the people choose their leaders, not a bloodline, a monarchy, a king and a queen. And with that, it was an enormous risk. This has never been done in the Western world. Now, there's roots of democracy in ancient Greece, but this was an enormous risk for these 13 colonies to take. But here we have it, an 8-year war of independence, fought and won, but that doesn't mean everybody's on the same page. Now we have a grand debate about what is to come next. What is this government that is of, by, and for the people? That's the language of our founding documents, and it's a democracy. And like I said, in a world ruled by kings and monarchs, it was a very bold proposition. So what is a democracy? Well, this experiment's going to have 3 branches of government, and all those branches share power. So that's one of those radical ideas. The legislative branch, the executive branch, the judicial branch, sharing power. You can think of a balancing act, very tricky balancing act at that. But what we're going to talk about today, in particular, it's the office of the president. That most embodies what people hoped America could be. So this position was brand new, not understood on the global scale because this was not an inherited position. It was not from the bloodline. But it's a position that is going to be crucial to the survival of this American experiment. So this position is going to carry a lot of burdens. It's also going to have to cast a lot of vision. And every man who holds this position is going to shape it. And obviously today we're going to start with the first, George Washington, but he won't be the last, of course. And every man who's held the position of the presidency has kind of put his own stamp, his own personality into the office as well. This is definitely the most unique position that the framers of the Constitution came up with. A lot of times we say our founding fathers. There was no real model for it. They couldn't look at another country and say, let's do it the way they're doing it. We are the first. There was no other model for it in the 18th century world. So that meant it was open to a lot of interpretation, open to a lot of questions, and obviously opinions. These men did not all agree on everything. Our founding fathers were not all united with their thoughts and beliefs. So, of course, that's going to lead to a lot of questions and debates as well. At the end of the revolution, it wasn't certain what type of government would be created or what power would be given to that government. You have to understand we came from a position of fear of a strong central government. I mean, isn't that why we fought the war? A strong central monarchy who taxed without discretion or taxed without representation. Obviously, that was one of the key phrasings, no taxation without representation. So the question would be, what power will this man have? Will this position have? And that's something that's going to shape our future. We could have very easily been 13 small countries. Hey, we fought this war together. We kicked the British out. Good for us. Now let's just go our own ways. Everybody can just, North Carolina can do what's best for North Carolina, and Massachusetts can choose what's best for Massachusetts. Very easily could have been 13 individual countries. And, look at the map in the room there. Imagine those being individual countries instead of United States. Obviously, we would have a very different future, a very different reality right now. But that's not what happened. We all became united under one Constitution. So with that, there's plenty of questions about what is the role of the presidency, how much power will it receive. We're living off of that fear of having fought to separate from King George. So what exactly do we want our new leader to be? A lot of people thought that the president was supposed to be a yes man, really just a figurehead, kind of the guy that agrees with what Congress says to do, right? The legislature passes a law, the president gives it its thumbs up. A lot of people thought that that's what the president should be. And of course, that's not exactly what the president is today. And then a big question is, how do we choose the president? Maybe one thing a monarchy had going for it is you always knew who was next because it was the bloodline. And of course, that was one of the problems. And that is not what we wanted the presidency to be. Belief at first was that would ordinary Americans even be educated enough to choose the president? The thought at the time was no, we can't let these farmers choose the person who's going to lead the country. Obviously, that comes with a bit of an elitist attitude, some negatives in that thought process as well. So the system that's designed is what's called the Electoral College. And what that means, it does still exist today, and it doesn't quite have the tinge of elitism as it used to, but I'll explain it briefly. The Electoral College is where citizens vote for a group of electors who then cast their vote for president, which is someone that they are pledged to vote for. So I know no one in the room here has ever voted before based on your age, but when you do vote, you will not vote for the candidate of president. You will vote for a group of electors who are pledged to vote for that president. And at the time, the thought was that if the people pick the wrong person, then that group of electors could basically sway their vote to the other direction. That is called a faithless elector. That's not something you hope that they will do. And that's not something that happens very often today. So when you vote for the president today, you vote for that group of electors. And that group of electors does faithfully vote for the person they're pledged for. But at the time, this was considered kind of a catch, a fail safe, right? The electors could change their vote if necessary. So who would be first, right? One of the big questions, I mean, we're staring at them. Who would be first? This question actually threatened to doom the very first Constitutional Convention. It was something that there's too much debate about. And, in this balancing act with this very fragile new idea, the first person could make or break the whole concept. And it appeared that this question could doom the Constitution and the new government until one man agreed to run, George Washington, and he essentially rescued the idea, and deservedly so. Becomes called the father of our country for that reason. Oh man, what? I'm gonna have to end this stream because a lot of reasons.